which is understandable because he's playing the role of the opposition leader. However, in this issue, I'd like to call on both the APC and Peter Obi to try and step things down a bit and not raise the ante, especially early in the new year, A, and B, at a time when nerves are seriously cracked. So the responsibility is going to fall on both parties. I'm not going to pass judgment here. Both of them have to put the interests of the people ahead. And the interest of the people is not just predicated on saying, fighting for them. It's to make sure that the atmosphere itself is temperate and cool, so that we don't want any, like, to put it in Nigerian language, any jaga jaga or uru or whatever it is. These times are very, very sensitive. People's nerves are racked. They are racked to the bone, and therefore we would say that let everybody tarry a while. When we get to 2027, I hope that our people will know which bridge to cross. Just like a caller this morning, my very good friend, childhood friend, Yinka Ibidoni, said, let's leave these politicians, but guide them, to play all the pranks that they like. But we ourselves should have a resolve to do the needful. I heard that this morning from Chief Yinka Ibidoni from Abeokuta. But let's see what is in the news that brought all this about. Peter Obi has raised an alarm that his family and those around him have been receiving threats over his New Year message on President Bola Tinubu, and I think the authorities should move in to authenticate this and find out who could be doing this, if true. I'm choosing my words carefully, if true. And then his supporters, under the auspices of the Obedient Movement, also yesterday implored Nigerians to take note of the open threat issued by the APC against him. An APC spokesperson said that Obi has crossed the line. But I would really like, our people not to take all these words literally. Politicians have a way of expressing themselves, and I don't think this is the time for any. This is the time for quiet thinking, if you ask me. And even indeed, the obedience by now should spend their time strategizing. Strategizing. Yes. Thank you very much. Strategizing. Obi said that, have I really crossed the line? I asked the question because my New Year message has now led to threats against my life, my family, and those around me. While I have received all sorts of messages, one Mr. Felix Morka has gone further to accuse me of crossing the line and has warned that I will face the consequences. I don't know. When you use such words, sometimes it could be veiled as a threat. It could be seen as a threat by authorities. So let's mind our language. So that's what all I have to say about this. To say to all parties involved that the one thing you don't want to do is raise tension this early in the year. That said, we just appeal to all the parties and to the supporters alike. Let's all sheath our swords. Let's sit back, strategize, and make a very firm decision in 2027 as to which way we want to go.
Indeed. Let's go to page 10 of the Vanguard newspaper. Those responsible for Ibadan stampede must be prosecuted. Mike Inde.
Now, that is from the governor of Oyo State, and I'm embarrassed at this kind of statement coming from the governor, because that means that he's not open-minded, and that he believes that a crime has been committed. But what he should have done in the very first instance, he didn't do. Rather than hounding the organizers and pass judgment on them, as it were, temporarily, by them still being in incarceration as we speak, he should have set up a board of inquiry. That's what happens when you have that kind of public action. You set up a board headed by a retired judge. There, that inquiry, just like it happens in murder cases, when you have, what do you call it now, coroner's inquest. He should have set up a panel, 3, a retired police officer, a retired magistrate or whatever, and a third person who knows about organizing things, and find out indeed who were responsible. It's not enough for you to say because this thing happened, therefore automatically the organizers must be responsible. I think that is very unfair. It is true 35 lives have been lost. I think what he's doing is playing to the gallery rather than taking his time to find out. He wants to be seen as, I think that he wants to be seen as somebody who, on behalf of the people, wants to get something done. But you're going about it the wrong way. These people are in incarceration. At the end of the day, it wasn't as if they were selling tickets or it was going to be free, free, which the government itself does. What's the difference between what they did and palliatives? And from the little that I can glean, this mayhem started well before the program was supposed to have started. And therefore, we heard stories like people throwing their own kids across the wall so they could go, get their own share of whatever it was. So I would have thought, and I would like to appeal to the governor to be open-minded. It might not be too late for him to have an open inquiry in which many people who are involved that the police might not even know about will be able to come forward and say what exactly happened. So as far as I'm concerned, saying those responsible for the Ibadan stampede must be prosecuted. What if it was the people themselves that were responsible for the stampede? What if you can't go with the presumption that it must be the organizers, I'm a bit worried. I'm a bit worried about that. And this is what the governor is said to have said. He said, then towards the end of the year, we faced the stampede at Islamic High School, Bashorun, which claimed 35 innocent lives. May we never witness such tragedy again in Oyo. Then he says something that I don't quite understand. Oyo State is not an Anambra State, and no matter how highly placed, justice must be done. That is a veiled reference. What do you mean by no matter how highly placed? Is it because one of the organizers is the former wife of the Oni of Ife? That is a prejudicial statement. That's the way I look at it. It shows that it shows something hidden, and I don't feel comfortable with that. And he said he ever reiterated that judiciary will handle the matter. He goes on to say, if you think, now listen to the words carefully, if you think you can grant bail pending trial, if you think is a loaded sentence. If you think you can grant bail pending trial, I have nothing against it. But the people must go on trial. They're already on but they've been locked up this far. Are you saying that the trial has not even started and they've been locked up for this long? Well, so many questions to ask, and then he talks about other issues. So that's the way that goes. You live in Ibadan, though. Is there any information you can give us as to
nothing exactly. Nothing exactly. Apart from what is already in the public domain. Well, I also completely agree with you that the governor is not handling this quite well. No. The governor, I mean, you said it perfectly. The governor should have just set up an inquiry.
Yes.
To look into what led to what happened, and where to apportion blame, and what to do next, and all of those things. Apparently, we're not trying to compare. Excuse me, but it didn't just happen in Ibadan, unfortunately.
Yeah,
same
period.
Which means that there is something larger going on, or that had gone wrong, that is going wrong, in the populace, in the nation, which is not peculiar to your state alone.
Yes.
So that to me should have allowed the governor to maybe listen to voice of reasoning, especially from people around him who most likely would have advised him. But whatever it is that he's going on about, we'll see how that pans out.
It's just unfortunate that if it turns out that this thing was done with a good intention, which I think it was, and at the end of the day, you don't find any of the two major people complicit, that it would have been unfortunate that they'd been in prison for close to 6 weeks to almost to 2 months. I think I don't understand that kind of justice system. I don't get it. I don't get it. I also believe that the police could have, for all you know, could have just said, okay, look, can we have your passports? Don't leave town. The government could have gotten the Attorney General to perfect that don't leave town, take their passports until we finish this inquiry. If you had an inquiry, Sheriff, you might be surprised at what you'll find.
Yeah.
Open inquiry for that matter, like an open hearing that allows the public and those who were there come to express themselves. The way it is now, and with the kind of language that he's using, the lawyers of Hamzat and
Prophetess.
And the prophetess are going to have a great task, because the appearance, I'm choosing my words now, is that something is premeditated to make a point.
Yeah, indeed. And that this conversation was what I had with a friend last week. You know, it's almost like they already knew that they were going to scapegoat some people. And my friend was telling me that, look, is the governor going to hold the parents who were who put the life of their children in jeopardy responsible for what they did? I doubt that.
I doubt that.
Should those people go free? No, they shouldn't go free. How are they going to finger those people as being responsible for the unfortunate incident that happened? I don't know how that's going to be.
What is also unfortunate is that when you have discussions like this, what you do find with a lot of Nigerian politicians or rulers, as it were, is that they just go adamant. And what is also unfortunate is the question I ask is, this is a rhetorical question. Had the prophetess still been the wife of the Oni of Ife, if she was an Olori, would this have happened? I'm saying this with the other things in the social media that are being said behind the scenes. The person I feel for the most is Hamzat, because what I heard is that he was just a media partner, which is what we do here. You have a sponsor, there's an event coming up, it's okay. We'll be the media it's sponsored by Nigeria Info, we're the media partners, and then suddenly we are now the organizers. And I think it's quite unfortunate. The governor is in a hurry. Somebody needs to talk to him.
I agree completely. Let's go to, let's stay on the same page. We have another story on that same page. Bode George faults move to take over King's College.
Now I'm caught between my father and my big brother in this case, because I'm going to break it down for you. I'm not going to faff around and pretend I don't know what's going on. Okay, so the King's College old students have approached the federal government to say to them that, can you hand over the school for us to run? Because apparently, like it happens in most other schools and so on and so forth, it appears as if the government is, apart from, they might not even have the capacity to run the school well. Not necessarily in funds. When we talk about capacity, we don't mean funds. King's College is an icon. Queen's College is an icon. You can't run away from it. And yes, just like we don't want government involvement in a lot of companies and whatever, I think it was not inappropriate for the old boys to approach the president and to say to him that, look, give us back Queen's College. I went to Comprehensive High School Ayetoro. If you go to Comprehensive High School Ayetoro today and close your eyes and imagine what it was like in 1974 when I left that school after A-levels, you will weep terribly. The authorities completely... This was a school that was built by the Ford Foundation. Accommodated everybody, including junior staff. We had junior staff quarters. It was a mini Festac. And bit by bit, the government started taking over staff quarters, taking over this, balkanized the school, turned it into a complete wreck. And we too, old students there, had made an attempt to see if we could retrieve the school. But I heard one of the governors had said that it was a school for Ajebota. Me, that I'm not Ajebota, I became governor. So what's the big deal? So when we had that kind of attitude, we just had to backtrack and leave it. So it's not out of place for the King's College old students to want to take over. And I support them. If I'd been an old student of King's College, I wouldn't be happy in any manner at the state of the school now as we speak. So there was a delegation of the old students led by Adifemi Okono. Now this is where the problem is. Alhaji Femi Okono, who is, let me quickly declare my own, is like a father to me. And he led that delegation. They went to meet the president and were able to meet him and made him an honorary old student of King's College. That is another thing entirely. I don't know how that is going to work. But since I'm also an honorary old student of Igbobi College, I was, but that's so. Now, in visiting the president, Chief Bode George is now criticizing to say, and I want to quote his words, the visiting elders from Lagos also missed the golden opportunity to demonstrate to the president the urgent need for the rehabilitation of the teeming youth population in the state, who are unemployed and economically stranded in their hundreds of thousands. They should have advocated for programs aimed at lifting these individuals out of poverty. Chief Bode George, Alhaji Okono, and 3 or 4 of the trustees of King's College Old Boys, the agenda of their meeting the president was for King's College. If in other capacities you believe that they should have said these things, then you shouldn't bring it, in my mind, under the King's College visit. And for those who know that, have a fair idea of what exactly had taken place. But I think that my major concern is that I don't want whatever political differences are. I don't want it to overshadow the need and the support that both King's College, Queen's College, and indeed other federal government colleges could or should be handed over to those who have the capacity to run them and keep them as icons that they are. So my judgment in this case is to say that I think, sir, with due respect, Chief Bode George, your criticism is a bit misplaced here. Is a bit misplaced here. I understand your passion for these things, sir, because it says that additionally, issues concerning the rehabilitation of roads in the outskirts of Lagos, such as Lagos-Abeokuta Express, and all these things have nothing to do with King's College. They went specifically to speak to the president on King's College, and surely if you have a meeting with somebody, you have to keep the agenda. I leave the rest of the thinking to you to try and find out what exactly could have gone on. But to the president, I think the old students of King's College can now say laureate. This is an honorary old boy, and he welcomed it. He put on their in good spirits and put on their muffler and put all these things. But sir, Alhaji sir, you forgot to add the school cap. It would have been nice to see the president take off his own cap and put on the King's College cap. So that's where we are. I would also use this opportunity to encourage the Queen's College old girls, of which I was a one-time honorary member. From Obasa House, yes.
Okay.
I was one-time honorary member from Obasa House. To do the same, because the essence of these schools must not die, and the government cannot maintain it. Definitely, they cannot maintain it. The essence of the schools, too much interference and too much corruption across the line.
Yes, indeed. Let's go to the Guardian newspaper, page 5. If you're just joining us, you're welcome. You can also watch online on Facebook and on YouTube. Nigeria Info 99.3 is how you can watch. We're going to take this story here. Telecom's tariff hike will stifle freedom of expression, Huriwa warns. Well,
I must say that I identify with Huriwa to be concerned about the cost of of communication at all levels. But I also should know that Huriwa should know that the telecoms companies are businesses, and for them to survive, they have to do certain things. Surely, everybody knows that in private concerns, you're not getting the same overheads that you had about 2 years ago. The telecoms companies are business concerns, and they must make moves to survive. Indeed, I had Engineer Adebayo here almost about 6-7 months ago, and he was able to state clearly that at the present levels, that they just cannot survive. And it's Understandable. Where are you going to start from? All their power, whatever, are run mainly by diesel and petroleum and PMS and all these kind of things. Various overheads that have gone up. And they are not charitable organizations. So I think that in this case, Huriwa should direct their concerns at the government to make business more viable, in the country. And rather than criticize the telecoms companies and saying that they should stick to the old tariff, they can't and won't stick to the old tariff. Don't let that be clear. Nobody does business like that. Nobody does business like that. And of course, I will declare, that of course I get a lot of support from one of them before you start needling me on that. But the truth is, the cost of doing business has gone up almost about tenfold. A flight from here to Abuja used to cost 50,000 or thereabouts. Even now, that same flight costs someone. In fact, a flight to Ghana, which is a 45-minute flight, is now $500,000. So overheads have gone up, obviously, and you cannot expect that. Rather, what we should do is call on government to ease the pressure on these companies and various companies in general, and make business, much more doable. A lot of you were critical this morning when it was said that, I heard you this morning, that the governor said that if you bought a tuber of yam in Benue for 400 naira, you should be able to sell it for 500 naira. And our listeners listed the various roadblocks on the way. With the telecoms companies, it's not any different. It's not any different. And so that's why I'd like to say that, Horiwa, yes, I sympathize with you. All of us will be victims in this circumstance, but we all know that the culprit, I'm using that word just in a manner, the culprit in this case is not the companies, but it is those who are in charge of the business environment.
We're going to go to page 7 of the Guardian now. Lagos moves against mass promotion of students.
I remember when Alhaji Jakonde came in, that was 83 or so, and we had automatic placement in schools and automatic promotion. I was then writing a column, I think I was writing a column, was it the Vanguard? I can't remember. But I was very much against it, vehemently opposed to it, where everything would just be automated once you register from primary, whatever, all the way to you do your school cert. It will be automatic promotion. When you now do your school cert, you don't make it. What is it that moves a student, apart from the intellect? Is that the various things, that fight? That fight, that is what urges a student. If a student knows that whether I read my books or not, or, I will be promoted, then there's no motivation. And it was playing politics. Because what we've then had over time is a lot of half-baked, half-baked. And I remember, I think when LASU started at that time, we criticized them also for taking, I think, with 2 or 3 O levels, and you would go for remedial and so on and so forth. I don't think so. I think even what the competition does is that very early, you can identify students who are not academically inclined and can then veer them into professions and things that they might be comfortable with. Because we must admit to ourselves that not all students have what it takes for academics. We must admit that. So I'm glad to hear that the Lagos State Commissioner for Basic and Secondary Education, Jamiu Alibalogun, has said that the era of mass promotion of students in the states is over. So you must get your child to read up and do well in school. And he also warned that teachers caught extorting students to award marks. That is, I find this very, very embarrassing, but I know it's the truth. Extorting students to award marks at secondary school level. I mean, you couldn't even, in our own time, you couldn't even look your teacher in the eye. Nowadays, we hear some teachers will give a bowl to the student and say, go and buy beans and dodo and this thing from me from Iyataju. What about money? Go, my friend, go and sort it out. All these things will not happen. And Ali Balogun spoke yesterday while monitoring school resumption, told principals, vice principals, and teachers that students not worthy of promotion must repeat And if they can't repeat, they should be weeded out and shown another direction. Another direction. And he says that those selling marks should be warned. Any teacher caught doing that will be shown the way out. What the commissioner needs to do now, like in all cases, is to look for one or two examples very quickly. And if he works at it, within 24 hours, he'll have one or two. Because it's one thing to pass on instructions. It's another thing for people to know that there'll be zero tolerance. And that's always been the problem we've had with governance. And he charged the teachers to cooperate with the state government to achieve better learning. I'd also like to use, whilst we're talking about Lagos State, to appeal one more time to the governor that the route to the island is still in total darkness, and light only comes on from his portion of the Marina House, from therein to Victoria Island. And I think the ops, Excellency, sir, is not right. You must show some care for the masses. Whatever is going to take, could you please put, especially Eco Bridge. I must admit, though, that in the last 24 to 48 hours, it has been marked, which shows a bit of guidance, at night. But the bridge, as at this morning, was still in pitch darkness. And we always look forward to when we now get to the governor's place, which is well lit. If the governor's area can be well lit, so can others. I agree. What is good for the goose?
It's good for the goose.
What is a gander, self?
It's a goose.
How can the goose be a gander? Sorry, how can the gander be a goose?
So I want to quickly just say a few things about. Oh, there's no time.
Okay,
we have to go.
We have to go. But what was the topic? I mean,
it's about the what
thing.
Ali Balogun said.
Yes.
About the school thing. I think he only just cherry picked what he felt he could talk about, because public schools in Lagos, there's a lot more attention that space actually deserves. Not just about promoting mass promotion alone.
Okay, guess what?
There's a lot of decadence in that.
Next week Tuesday, let's bring somebody. Let's talk about it.
Okay, that sounds good.
Is that a deal?
Yes, that's a good. That's a good. That's
Chop knuckle.
Sure.
This guy is back. I'm so excited.
We must go now. We have to. But you're back at 9.
I'm back at 9. Yes.
Yeah. All right. What's coming up now?
Oh, there's a guy we brought in here on Friday. He puts cars together. So I'm getting the MD of a car company to come and bring the two of them together and let's see what we can make out for the boy.
Oh,
the boy is already downstairs there.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
One of the good things.
All right. Yeah. Let's take you back to Kofi Batters on Lagos. Thank you for being a part of the show. Kofi is next with the continuation of Morning Crossfire. Good morning to you.
99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.